out there. It's Thursday. Come on in here and let's talk on the Chaps J radio show. Come on in. Let me see you come in. Wave at me as you're coming in. Send some hearts up. Let me hear from you. Wave at me in the chat box. Tell me that you're on. If you're one of our regular listeners, I'm going to pull the mic over just a little bit. Hopefully, you all be able to hear me just a little better. Glad to see Marquis is on and tuned in. Come on in. Definitely click the share button because it's going to take you, the co host, to help us have this conversation on tonight. It's going to take you, the co host, to help us have this conversation. And if you click like and share, we could get the message out that we are on and are live. So work with me as I'm trying to do that same thing. Make sure that I share. And modern technology is moving just a little slow on my end, but I'm glad to see you all on this Thursday evening. Really glad to see you. I can't speak for you, but I can certainly speak for myself. It has been a busy week. It's been a very busy week, and there has been a lot that has gone on, a great deal that has gone on. And it's so easy for us to get discouraged. It's easy for us to become tired and feel a bit overwhelmed. But we've made it to Thursday. Some people say, that's Friday Junior. So we're there. And this is going to be our time to be able to pause and share with one another. Give me just one more second. I think it's coming up now where I can do what I've asked you all to do, which is to click the like and click the share button. Help me get the word out that we are on and that we're live right now. Help me get the word out. Tell some folk we want them to come in, talk to us, and have the conversation that we are going to have on this Thursday evening. Normally, I've been coming on Wednesdays. I've been coming on Wednesday nights. But this week has just been one of those weeks. And so I'm coming on tonight. And I hope that you will stay up with us because we're just going to have the parking lot conversation right over here. We're going to have this parking lot conversation, and it takes you, the co-host, to help me have the conversation. So as you're clicking in, as you're checking in to see what we're talking about, the topic is already up, and I want to know your thoughts. In the military world, or I could speak for the Navy, if there is a commander, if there's an officer in charge, then if they are found to be not capable of fulfilling their task, they are relieved of duty. They are relieved of duty. And, there's a lack of confidence there by those who have charge over that particular commander. And so tonight, I need you, the co-host, to help me begin answering this question of, is there a vote of no confidence in the church? Is there a vote of no confidence in the church? And let me open this up by suggesting to us that I would rather us have the conversation. And I hope that some people will tune in. And then as people start responding, send this out to your local pastors, because I believe it's not too late for the church to reevaluate, reimagine, and move forward. But that means we have to begin having some open dialogue. We have to have open dialogue. So if you know that there's individuals who are up who would be willing to help me flesh out what's going on with the church, tell them to chime in right now, even if it's just via the chat. I see we do have some new folk joining in. Don't be a stranger. Don't be quiet. Go ahead and send some likes, send me some hearts, let me know that you're there, because I'm glad to see you on tonight, each and every one of you that is tuned in. But if you had to begin reflecting on what's going on, with the local church, and maybe not just local, maybe we're talking about nationally or internationally, would you describe the church in a positive or a negative position? That's the first question that I want to pose to you. Do you describe the church in a positive or negative position? Or maybe it's somewhere in the middle. I'm not telling you to call out any local congregations names, nor any local ministers, but let me know, what do you think? Is the church in a positive or a negative position? Marquis is on. Janice, the hood theologian. I tell you what, if you feel comfortable, you let me know if you want to call in, and I'm gonna look for your number, because I want to hear from the hood theologian on the night what you think is going on with the local church. But that's the question I first want to pose in your own terms, in your own way, in your own experiences. Do you believe the church is in a positive or negative position? Folk are clicking on in. You all come on in and stay in the room. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hey, Miller, good to see you, man. You actually chimed in. First time. Come on in the room. Glad to see you tonight. We are having the conversation about uh, whether or not the church gets a vote of no confidence. And I know that we have at least two people on here right now who have military background. And if there's a vote of no confidence, that means that that person is probably going to get relieved. So at this point, what I'm saying is, based upon your reflections. Remember, I'm going to moderate this conversation, but I want you, the co-host, which are those of you who are viewing right now, to lead this conversation and dialogue on tonight. Does the church get a vote of yay or nay from you? Is it in a positive place or a negative place? I want us to start there, and then we can begin moving out from that particular question. But come on in. Let me know what your thoughts are, because there's a great deal circulating around the church, whether it be individuals who have different theologies, and maybe there are some folk out there who are listening right now, and as you have grown, as you have experienced and gone different places, you have seen, wait a minute now, something doesn't add up. Something does not line up, because what you're preaching in the pulpit and what I'm living daily is something totally different. Or, uh, maybe you have found yourself leaving the church due to um, social interactions that you have had with certain individuals in the local congregation. I want to hear, do you give a vote of yay or nay? That's where I want us to start. Is it a is the is the church in a positive or negative place? And we're talking holistically. I'm not talking about denominations, because that brings up a whole host of other um, uh, subtopics. But I want us to let's just start with the bigger picture right now and consider first the broader picture. Is it a positive or negative vote that you have right now as a local church? Johnnice, I see you down in the comment section. Let me see if I could get your message up there, Johnnice. You say, and I'm going to try to move this out of my face. You say, I think the church is in a neutral spot. It is not really positive and is not really negative. Many have been exposed during this COVID season because they weren't doing much when they were open. My goodness, ain't that something? So, you know, I guess if we jumped over, if I was in a, a Bible study setting, somebody throw out there, well, in the book of Revelation, they were lukewarm. So, in a neutral spot, Johnnice, you think that we are in a neutral spot, and really, I think you really say something right here, and let me put it back up there, because you say that as a result of COVID, many have been exposed because they weren't doing much when they were open. Now, that's really something. I want us to have that conversation. What is it that they weren't doing? I want us to really have that conversation, because they need to hear it. They need to hear that conversation right there. You're doing everything else but what the people need for you to be doing and desire for you to be doing. So let's continue to have that conversation. If you want to flesh that out a bit more, Johnny's, let me know, and because I think you hit that right on the that nail on the head. John Reese, good to see you tonight. You all will go tag team for us. I think the relevance of the church is in question. Is it meeting the needs of the people, or is it concerned about keeping up appearances? Now that's a whole power packed message right there. But I really think you play right into what John East was suggesting. You know, what is it that you're doing? What is it that you're choosing not to do? Are you choosing not to do it? Are you choosing to intentionally ignore the things that you ought to be doing in order to keep up certain appearances? And are those quote unquote appearances that you're trying to keep up causing individuals to pick up their bag, pick up their purse, etc., and head on out the door? And I think this COVID season has definitely started something there. And here's what I want to know. And I'm as we're continuing this conversation, one, let me ask this question again. For those of you that are just jumping in, we're talking about whether or not the church gets a vote of confidence or a no vote. That's where we're starting. Is it a yay or a nay? And we have already had just a bit of conversation that there are some things that one is during this time, it seems like a lot has been put on Front Street, you can say, because congregations weren't really doing anything when they were open. Probably a great majority of them did a whole lot of socializing, and occasionally would do, quote unquote ministry work. And then secondly, uh, you know, what are the appearances that's come up, and have uh, those local congregations lost individuals that they could uh, have right now supporting the ministries as a result of trying to keep up certain appearances. Because I think that's a topic that we really need to flesh out. What are these appearances? Because that's a major point right there. Let's holler at Johnny's. You back in the comments. Many churches have invested in enhancing the building and not the kingdom. Ministering and untiring the body is an afterthought. Jesus' ministry was in the street among the people, not within the walls of the building. Now that's a significant conversation for us to have, because the truth of us, you know, if we're really being honest and having the conversation, uh, is there, COVID has shown us you really don't even need some of these buildings, or at least we could show enough slim down on the building, and it might have been a positive thing for some congregations to rethink how they are using their facilities. What other purposes could you put your facility to use for? I think COVID has given the opportunity to say, you know what, we're not using these buildings, but once or twice a week for worship, but we spend all of this money in it. What would it look like for us to begin to repurpose and re-envision what we do with the actual facilities? I think that would be up for questioning. But the bigger piece and nature of what Johnny said there is that uh, we have the church has not been enhancing the kingdom. The church has not been enhancing the kingdom, and if you're going to do that, then you have to be as she states in her own words, Jesus' ministry was in the streets among the people, not within the walls. And what happens? Because are the folk who are sitting in the local congregations, are they really comfortable being among the people? Are you really comfortable being among the people? Because when you are among the people, you don't get to look at people a certain way, because in reality, everybody is trying to live day to day. Everybody is just trying to figure this out one day at a time, because that's all that we have. That's all that we have to work with. But is the church choosing to ignore going to the people because they don't know how to interact with the people? They don't want to deal in the real issues of the people, because it might make them feel a certain way, or it might expose some of the very struggles that they have within the walls of the church. But because they're keeping up the appearances, uh, it goes on. They don't have to deal with it. It goes unsaid. It could be brushed away. So my question then is, for those, because you all are driving this conversation tonight, and I see we got one or two new folk who have joined the line, but we're having this conversation right now, about the positive or negative impact of the church. Is it relevant or is it not? Does it get a vote of confidence? Is it a yay or a nay? And we are currently having the discussion about what's going on, and we've already stated that right now, at least one of the co-hosts said that the church is in a neutral position, and as a result of COVID, we've had a whole lot of exposure taking place, a whole lot of exposure taking place. And I want us to have the conversation, and I want us to click the like button and click the share button, because if there's nothing else that I know that the local church is good at, especially from the community that I come from, it's gossip. And I want folk to gossip tonight that we are having this conversation. We're having the parking lot conversation, and I don't have to worry about getting put out of a pulpit. But I hope that as a result of this conversation, individuals will take this information back to your ministers, to to your ministry leaders in your local churches, or in whatever ministry that you take part in, and say, you know what, there was some vital and key points brought up, and some that we ought to reflect on. Some that we ought to reflect on. Uh, Johnny says, in my hood opinion, I like that. We gonna have to interview the hood theologian. In my hood opinion, many times he mentioned go, and I would assume you're referring to Jesus. Go, and in the role that I'm in, it's a go role. You are among the people in their daily life, in their coming and in their going. When they lay down, you lay down with them. When they get up, you get up with them. When you at lunch, you're with them. And so you begin to have bonds. That word go is so important. Go. And then you have to ask yourself, where? And he says, you got the whole world. What are you talking about? Where? Is the church willing to go? Are they willing to go? I think that's a key piece right there that Johnny's brought up. He said go. He said go. John Reese has down here, when Jesus did preach within the walls, the people took the roof off and came in. And I think part of that is to be said. The reason they took the roof off to get to where he was is because Jesus had street credit. And I'm not certain. I'm really not certain. At this point, there was a line of preachers that I would suggest had street credit. But I'm not really sure that we have a group that has enough street credit with the people. I'm not talking about the folk in the walls, but I'm talking about who have street. It's you all know, it's really something when a person has street credit. That person can walk in and out of spaces and get things done. Get things done. And I wonder, has the church lost its street credit? And as a result, people ain't racing to come in, because you never go to see them. You never go knock on their door. You never, you really have no awareness of what's really going on with folk, within their life, outside of seeing them when the buildings were open. When the buildings were open on maybe a Wednesday, or whatever day that the local congregation did their midweek lessons and ministry meetings, and then for some type of corporate assembly, whether it had been on Saturday or Sunday. But my question is, and I think, and it's been raised as a result of the chat, does the church still have street credit? Do the leaders in the church, in your local community, the pastors, still have street credit? Do those who have leadership roles in the local church still have street credit? And are people willing to race in to come and hear what they have to say? Are the folk who, are kind of in the ministry that I'm in, I can reflect particularly on a conversation that I had when I first came into chaplaincy within the Navy, and one of the officers shared with me, I am never coming in that chapel, but you sitting here with me is just what I need. Or do you have enough street credit that when something is going wrong, when there is something taking place, they're willing to come to you. They're willing to come and see you, or they know enough that they could pick up the phone and you go head their way. You're going to head their way. And I think we ought to really have that conversation. John Reese has, when Jesus did preach, I want us to read this again. I put it up once, but when Jesus did preach within the walls, the people took the roof off and came in, validating the fact that real ministry is needed outside the walls of the church. My question, once again, does the church have street credit? And even further now, is the church out of touch? Is the church out of touch with what's really going on outside the walls of the church? Are they out of touch with what's going on in the streets? And because that's a conversation that we really need to have. Man, Harold Booker joined in. I know he's in East Coast, so he's definitely up late. Harold says, I think there are too many churches. Now, ain't that, I can think of my home community, and I know for a fact we probably had over 25, I think it was right at 25, local congregations within a very short radius. I mean, very small radius. Um, too many churches. Too many churches. And then he says, I'm throwing it back up there. The leadership of pastors have been watered down as there are so many preachers now. Now, that's something really interesting. That's something really interesting. What you submit, Harold, is that because we have so many quote unquote ministers, preachers, or pastors, or lead, all those who are in some form of leadership, you suggest that the role has been watered down. I think that's something for us to truly consider. And somebody brought up the civil rights movement just a little bit ago. Yes, it was John East. Check down there in the chat. And I do agree with you. The civil rights movement was birthed and started within the church, and that's because there was some street credit there. And they got in and went back out into the streets. They went back out into the streets. They took the message to the streets. Marquis says, losing credibility. The church may have lost some credibility, and I'm not sure how much has been done to tear down the notion that churches are mostly concerned about money. It would be interesting to see how many, quote, shepherds can account for his or her sheep in the absence of in-person meetings. Okay, there's a lot there. I think there's a lot there, especially as you begin to reflect on the financial piece of it, because there are probably a whole lot of individuals out there right now who might feel as though the church began to lose its initial credibility due to money, as a result of individuals, mishandling funds, or seeming as though they were robbing individuals who were just trying to make ends meet and live day to day. And as a result, they got to live better but the church never poured back into them. Matter of fact, that was just a recent conversation I had here with a coworker. Is that who is a minister, someone who lost confidence in the church as a result of believing that his mother had just been ripped off, basically, by ministers. So I think that's a relevant conversation, certainly for us to have, Marquis. I want to pose this question. Let's shift a little. Uh, does the message of the church? I'm going to ask this, and I'm going to try to type it out, but I want to go ahead and ask: does the church, or does the message of the church, align with your personal experiences and convictions? Let me repeat the question. Does the message of the church align with your personal experiences and convictions? There's the questions. I want to see what your thoughts are, and we're moving because time is already rolling along with us. We've already passed the half hour mark. So, uh, does the message of the church align with your personal experiences and convictions? And we've already had a little bit of this conversation right now. Um, it's kind of been organic throughout, but I wanted to throw it out there formally because I would submit that there are a lot of young people who are leaving the church as a result that the message of the church does not align with their personal experiences and their um, their personal convictions. There's something missing there within that framework for them, and as a result, they're choosing to find somewhere else to go. They're choosing to find some other community to be a part of, or they're choosing just to not fool with it at all. Because something within them, as I agree with it, ought to say my beliefs and my experiences ought to align with what I believe spiritually. So I want to hear from you all who are tuned in right now. Uh, does the church align with your personal um, experiences and convictions? Personal experiences and convictions. Does it align? Because what you live daily, what you live daily, I guarantee you, because of the world that we live in, we come in contact with all kinds of individuals and people who I was raised to believe to be demonized have been individuals who have been some of the greatest supports in my life. And there were other individuals who were demonized by their own faith communities, and they were the ones who actually had the street credit. They were the ones who, when that individual passed away, the street came and rallied around the individual and celebrated the individual because of the impact that person had on the community and had on those outside of the building. And so at what point do you take evaluation and say, you know what, I need to really reflect on this and say something does not align, the what's being preached, what's being taught, what's coming from the mouth of the leadership is not what I agree with in my internal being, in my own spirit. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. And it does not match what I experience daily. It does not match the people that I encounter daily. It does not match uh, those who have begun to make up my family networks. It does not match those who I believe are individuals who I can say are friends. Something does not match, and what I hear you saying is bothering me now because it does not match what I'm living on a daily basis. Janice, you back up here. It said you share another hood perspective. You know what? You got to strike that up. Hood perspective. I believe there is a church on every other corner. On every other corner is because men are seeking glory instead of seeking God's glory. I call them pulpit pageants. Is that right? Did I say that right? Pageants. Let me know if I said that right. I call them pulpit pageants. My goodness. I do agree with you. There are a lot of folk who see the church as a way. You know what? Let me rephrase that. Let me pause, strike that, and reverse it. There are a lot of individuals who love the shininess. They love the glamour of what has come in that role with being in the pastorate. They especially in certain communities, and because I have such a broad uh, audience, and I don't know who will watch this. I don't want to narrow it down, but I can definitely speak for my background and say there's a lot of folk who love the shininess of what um, the pulpit um, quote unquote gives, and as a result, um, you know, everybody and they, cousin desire to, as we say, start a local congregation. And I think it kind of goes back to what Harold said just a little bit ago, that you know, as a result, this whole thing has become watered down. Now, I think he was specifically talking about um, the the pastorate itself, but uh, that might be something that you could look at holistically. As a result, the whole thing has become watered down. It has lost its saltiness. Yeah. Now, if I was up in the pool, I'd say, "Oh man, that hit me right there. That's good stuff." It has lost its saltiness, y'all. It's lost its saltiness. Okay, let me ask you another question. It's coming at you right now. Uh, I want to know why we do not see 18 to 25-year-olds. 18 to 25. Let's think about that age. I'm now over that age. So I'm wanting to see what your thoughts are, because I was still a part of that generation that was highly active, or at least the tail end of it. We were highly active in uh, the local church. You know, we were active in every kind of possible ministry, not just within the local, but then there was district, and then there was state, and then there was national. All of these pieces that just continue to go up and up and up. we were active. We were active. But now I want to know, because I can remember going to events that no longer transpire. So, where are the 18 to 25-year-olds in church? Are they going, or why have they chosen to leave? I want to hear you all's thoughts right now. If you know of an 18 to 25-year-old that's awake, and I'm probably sure there's a great number of them that are, um, uh, tell them I need their help answering this question. Where are they going for church? Are they still going? Are they active? And if they're not, why did they leave? And where are they going? And what are they doing? You know, that's kind of the sequence of questions that we can ask there. I'm specifically wanting to know about the 18 to 25-year-old block right now. If you're tuned in, what are your thoughts on that particular age group? Where are they there, or have they left? And if they have left, where are they going? Or did they just choose not to deal with it at all? So the 18 to 25-year-olds, where are they? Because um, the reality of it is the the ages in the local congregation. Let's just think about the ages in the local congregation right now. We're talking, especially for the many of the smaller congregations, the 75 to 100 folk sized congregation. We're talking about 65 up, 65 up, uh maybe 59 or 60, but there's still, what is that, the baby boomers, those baby boomer crowd, uh and the ones ahead of them uh are now much older. We're talking late 80s, some 90. Um and so there's only a handful of them, but there are no 18 to 25-year-olds in most of these congregations. Where are they going? Or have they decided that the model of church no longer works for them? Have they decided that the work, or rather the framework of the church, does not fulfill their spiritual needs anymore? And if that's the case, where are they going? Or are they, what are the alternatives that they are using to meet their spiritual needs? Tell them to get on in here right now. Don't forget, if you're tuning in, make sure that you click like and click share, because we definitely need to have this conversation, and I need your help in asking the 18 to 25-year-olds, where are they going for their spiritual needs right now? I think it's vital. It's a vital question that needs to be asked, and I need your help getting this question out there and getting us some thoughts. Those of you who are tuned in the comment section, let me know, um, what are your thoughts about where 18 to 25-year-olds are going for their spiritual needs. So I'm trying to make sure that I read the comments as they come in, but I need your help right there, because uh, I don't believe that 18 to 25-year-olds just don't have some type of spiritual connection with God. And for folk to try to write them off and suggest that they don't is just foolish. I truly believe that they have an awareness, they have an understanding, and they have a connection there. But our framework that we have is probably not working for them. So I want to get your help as to what you think is going on with the 18 to 25-year-old bracket. Uh, okay, Let's see here. Janice, you say young adults are not into going to traditional church due to leadership not willing to adapt to seek ways to reach them through their platforms such as Instagram and Snapchat. They have different struggles than those of the 1970s. Now, I agree with that, and that was probably a fantastic opportunity. Now it has pushed. So many churches have been arguing even about just the simple technology pieces. Should we get a camera? Do we need a TV? All of those pieces. Now, granted, if you got a little small church or whatever, in a rural area, some, I'm not. Let me say I don't want to knock everybody, but for those that have been putting up a fight just because, I think COVID forced the leadership, those who actually have titles, and the unofficial leaders who sit in the pews, who have sway, to have to begin adapting, and or rather, and reimagining how this whole thing is done, how worship, how church, how ministry is done, and how it looks, because they did not account that they would not be able to physically go to a building. They did not physically account for that. So I think you're right. There is a need to begin to be willing to adapt to new platforms, and with that, that tells us right there, because even within those various platforms, whether it be Instagram, whether it be Snapchat, we're talking about your messages got to be succinct. Or you got to have an Instagram platform, and your church is snapping pictures of, maybe it's community events that you're taking part of. Maybe you're doing feeding the homeless, and all you do is have an Instagram page that is Snapchatting of you all interacting with the homeless, making sure that they have clothes, or making sure that they have blankets and are warm, making sure that they have food. That's a whole Instagram channel right there. And Snapchat, these are all new mediums that where you find the 18 to 25-year-old crowds on, and because they don't want to come to sit for when I was growing up, we started at 10:30 a.m. in the morning. That did not include Sunday school, which was at 9. We started service at 10:30 a.m. and it was told to us that we had not been in service long enough if we had not stayed until 1 p.m. And I'm just here to let folk know that that's not going to fly anymore. 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. is, I know there's some folk that's going to be probably against my thought pattern here, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But those days and those individuals have long gone. And in the mentality of Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, they're quick, they're they're succinct. It's the attention span is not even there to be sitting there that length of time anymore. So I would submit that for 18 to 25-year-olds, you have to begin to think in a mentality of the attention span of Snapchat, of Instagram, of TikTok or Snapchat is short. It's short. it's in stories. They can click your story and snap off of it. Somebody can click on this link right now, listen to me for 2 seconds, and go on about their business. Everything is very short. Everything is very because their attention spans are gone. So them sitting in a building, coming to a building, putting on clothes that you told them that they had to wear and they think are uncomfortable, and or either you don't agree with what they wear when they get there, and then folk decide to have an attitude. Well, now we have an issue. So they say, you know what? We don't have to come. Matter of fact, that's going to lead me to my next question. How has church hopping gone for you? That's my next question. And still there's some comments down here in the chat that I didn't get to yet about the 18 to 25-year-olds. So I'm really trying to watch our time. But I want to know, how do y'all like church hopping? Because at COVID, before COVID, growing up, you had to be a member of one church. They wanted to see you every Sunday. You had to be in attendance, all of those things. But COVID forced us to this virtual world, and now something that was that was frowned upon is now, every Sunday, folk can swipe and click the next service. Oh, he don't got nothing today. She ain't saying nothing today. Whoop. They go on to the next service. This person has a legitimate message for us on this Sunday, and they stay tuned in. They stay watching. So my question, as we continue to reflect on 18 to 25-year-olds, because I think it fits within that segment, how is church hopping going during COVID? I want to know, what has church hopping taught you about COVID? I mean, or rather, what has it taught you about the church? What has church hopping during COVID? Yeah, that's better. What has church hopping during COVID revealed for you? What has it revealed for you? What has church hopping allowed you to see that you didn't get to see because you, quote unquote, had to be in the same pew at the same time with the same folk every Sunday, even though you more than likely you probably weren't growing? Okay, how does church hopping feel in a COVID season? And I want to put this up there. John Reese gave us a thought about the 18 to 25-year-old block, and she said that the older people are used to traditional church, the high touch, and she knows I know all about that. And this form of worship does not fit in the high tech lifestyle of the 18 to 25-year-olds, and I think that's true. I can attest that I grew up in a quote unquote high congregation. And if there's some folk from my home church who are tuned in and you're up right now, I know you can affirm the kind of worship style, at least I would say the 90s. The 90s of our particular congregation. My goodness, the 90s. Y'all, we had some good church in the 90s. We really did. I see it like it's day. I still see their faces. I still see the choir robes. And my goodness, they could put on. Now, some folk might find that they have issue with me using this word, but put all of that to the side. They could put on a show on Sunday morning. They could really put on a show on Sunday morning, and it was absolutely something to behold church in the late in my era, being born at the late 80s and then coming into the 90s. I mean, that was the tail end of that high touch of worship service, especially in the Baptist congregations. and certainly the more liturgical um, congregations. Uh, but there was something to be said about worship in a local church, and I loved it. I grew up with it. It was something that that is a part of who I am, and is something that I will never forget. It's something that I always cherish, and it is something that I still to this day celebrate. But when we're talking about 18 to 25-year olds, they probably could go without the robes. They can go without, hearing what I like to call the big organ. I knew specifically of an individual matter of fact, I saw that congregation on Facebook last Sunday. And they have a beautiful choir stand, and there's a huge and antique pipe organ in that congregation. And I remember the organist of that church, she would never even touch the Hammond organ. She wouldn't even fool with it. Matter of fact, she said it was a toy. If you didn't know how to play the classical pipe organ, you weren't doing anything. And she said you were, if those who want to go over and play that toy, they could play it. I grew up in that kind of atmosphere, in that kind of setting. 18 to 25-year-olds would probably submit, I don't want to hear all of that. But at the same time, uh, those congregations had other issues going on outside of just their music. Let me pull this in here real quick. Marquise suggests that I also know some that attend churches that are more liberal and welcoming to their circumstances. I think that's a great conversation for us to have, and that goes along with um, why they're leaving, because uh, the congregations are not welcoming to their you suggest circumstances, and for some, it's probably they're not welcoming to who they are. That's just the reality of it. And folk get hung up, on whether or not they agree with a person's lifestyle, or whether or not they agree with what this person does for work, or whether or not they agree with who this person married, or and the list goes on and on and on and on. They get concerned, but they choose. And he is long gone. So not long gone, but recently gone. And I remember hearing Charles Booth preach a sermon about you're majoring in minors. And the church has such a problem with majoring in the minors. Majoring in the minors. Who cares? Who cares? And matter of fact, I'll tell you why they care, because everything that you suggest probably that is an issue with the 18 to 25-year-olds who have to go somewhere else. And let me suggest it, and let me just submit, if there are some 18 to 25-year-olds who are listening to this feed right now, and you're in a congregation where you are uncomfortable, where you say, you know what, this no longer feels as a healthy place for me when I come. My spirit is not whole, is not fed. I want to submit that you need to gather up your things, gather your belongings, and hit the door. Go hit the door and message me, inbox me, and I will provide you with a list of places where you can go. And if it's an area that I don't know anything about, I guarantee you I can find somebody who knows something about the area where you're in, where you can go and can receive a healthy and fulfilling ministry around individuals who see you as whole and as one of God's created. And that's what we want. You shouldn't have to go to church and cower. You shouldn't have to be there sad. You shouldn't have to dug out in the corner. You shouldn't have to feel like you're hiding out. It's time out for those things, because the reality of it is the folk who are sitting in there who have the issues are insecure because it's their issues. It's their issues. It's their problems. And I won't tell the 18 to 25-year-old group, when you come back and listen to this, is not you. It's all because the folks sitting in there refuse to handle their own problems, or they're looking at their own life and choosing to take out their sadness, their anger, their frustration, their loneliness, uh, you know, all of those things that they choose to take it out on you instead. Chief BB is on the line. So good to see you tonight, man. I hope you click like and click share. That's our New Orleans connection right there. I'm glad to see you. I want to let me throw this up there. Yeah, that's the reality, Johnny. COVID church has been great for me. I can have a different church all week long. All week long. All week long. Because let me submit for you. There were some folk, and I remember, and John Reese, if you're still up and if you're still listening, maybe you can attest that, when we were in our preaching class, and I know our time is short, but when we were in our preaching class, our professor, made the point. People who would attend Sunday morning service or would attend church on Sundays, they had to be intentional. They had to, after a long week, get up out of their bed. They had to clean themselves up. That whole process, we talking, 45 minutes to an hour, get dressed, do their hair, do their makeup, all that, can find something quote unquote presentable to wear, to their local church. Then, depending on where they were, they had to get in the car and drive. Then they had to drive. So we some folk now live, 30, 40 plus miles from their church. Some folk driving 30 minutes to 45 minutes to get to a church, because that was the church that they've attended all of these years. So now they having to take a hike. There's a whole drive, and depending upon where they were, now they've spent their gas money getting there. Then once they got there, they had to sit through, however many preliminary things that took place before the quote unquote main part of the worship, which for the Baptist congregation is the preaching moment. And so, you've gone through 3-4 plus hours, especially if you've got children that you're trying to get dressed and get ready and get them to church, and all of those pieces that come with running around chasing little ones. And then to get there, and then you sit through an hour and a half of nothing, and then the preacher get up and don't have nothing to say. You've just blown my whole day. You have absolutely just blown my entire day. You have wasted my time. You have wasted my money. Who want to come in there? And now COVID says, I don't have to get out of my bed. I don't have to waste my gas. I can be cooking my breakfast. Folk can be running around the house, sleep, doing whatever they want to do. And if I don't want to hear this section of the service, I'll come back to you in about 30 minutes. If I don't want to hear that section of the service, I'll come back to you in about 15 minutes. And then if you ain't saying nothing during the moment that we've all been waiting for, well, now I'm just going to scroll on past you. I'm just going to scroll on past you because I don't even have to waste my time. And if nobody really saying nothing, I'm going to go on and find me a movie. I'm going to put my feet up and go on about my day. So what I would submit is that it has definitely pushed a whole lot of individuals in the pulpits to really better figure out how to have something meaningful to say and have something relevant to say to the moment that we are in. And if you say, well, you know what, I've got to keep, you still saying, the Lord's going to make a way somehow, God's going to do it. If you can't find something new to say, and all you got to do is look around. My goodness, we've got plenty for you to preach on. There is an album of things for you to preach on. And if you don't know what else to say, or if you don't know how to study, maybe this is an opportunity for you to say, you know what, they've got these schools online. I ought to sign myself up. And I need to go and get a little education. Let me take a little class here and there to better prepare myself, equip myself to have something to say, because if not, folk are going to outgrow me. They're going to outgrow the congregation. And as a result, the doors are going to close. The doors are going to close. I really want us to continue to have conversation about this church hopping, because as a result, I'm willing to bet some folk have heard new theologies that you had never heard before. Some folk are beginning to see women up on Sunday mornings, and you had no clue these folk even existed. You had no clue of their ministries. You are now in a place where you can say, I can cut through the whole thing and get to what I need and go on about my business. So let's just wrap this up real quick. I started out a little bit ago saying, if you're tuned in and you attend church, you know, the one thing that they have done well all my life and I could depend on is that if something went down on this side of town, you know, on the west, it made it to the north before church was out, because they knew how to gossip. And I hope that folk will share this and send this out, because folk need to have the conversations. Congregations need to have the conversations. Leadership needs to have the conversation, because we've talked about why folk are leaving, whether or not you're relevant, even the 18 to 25-year-olds, what's going on within their situation. And if you're not asking these questions, if you're not asking what's transpiring, what are we going to do different, then I think we need to have you really need to have further conversation about whether or not you want to be relevant, whether or not you want the congregation to continue to thrive and move forward. And the reality of it for some folk is, if you got somebody stale up there, I hear a friend ringing, and matter of fact, I think she's in this chat box right now. If you got a dry spirit that is in your pulpit and you put him there, you need to rethink what it is you did. You need to rethink what it is you did, because at first the church was trying to survive its own self-inflicted pandemic. The church was trying to survive its own self-inflicted pandemic. Now the church is trying to survive not only the pandemic it created, but now we have a health pandemic that is trying to survive. And I'm not sure that if intentional conversations don't begin to take place, the doors aren't going to close up. So that's just a little conversation that I wanted to have on tonight, and just my own reflections. I hope that we'll get some more conversation to take place, especially regarding that 18 to 25-year-old crowd. And there are a lot of topics out there right now. There's a whole lot of conversations out there right now regarding local congregations, local ministers, and there are conversations that we need to have. And there are conversations that normally happen on the parking lot. You all know exactly what those conversations are that happen on the parking lot. Everybody goes to their own corner. Everybody, this little group get what they section, that little group get what they, their section. And they talk about all of the things that are actually happening that don't get addressed inside the building. And so what we're doing over here is bringing those conversations from the parking lot into pastoral study, and we're just dialoguing. And so let's find out what's going on with the 18 to 25-year-olds. Make sure that you continue to let me know what your thoughts are about church hopping during this season. And my true desire is to see that the church will heal from its self-inflicted uh, pandemic that started well before COVID. Uh, would heal from that, and then it would also be able to find uh, a new way to move in this season of COVID, in this health world health pandemic that we have found ourselves in. I'm so glad that you all tuned in on tonight, and I'm grateful that you stayed up with me to just chat for a little bit. I know the hour is late you all's way because the hour is starting to draw late and I'm out here in California. But I'm so glad that you stayed up with me tonight. And you never know when I'll go live, potentially this weekend or something next week. But, just a quick pastoral inject right here. There's so much going on. Pray that if you know how to, there's some folk who grew up saying pray and pray right. If you know how to pray, I don't have to list what's going on right now, but it's wearing on our hearts, on our minds, on our spirits, and it can be draining. Pray that the Lord gives us strength, courage, and grace to move forward. And then I recently I always vote, and the message is, what are you going to do about it? So I always vote, and actually I've been having to vote by mail because I went away for college. Uh, straight out of high school, and that's when I got my first mail-in ballot. So I want to submit that if you have not registered to vote, call in and check in with your local elections officials. Make sure that you're registered. Make sure that that your records are up to date, and that what your plan is going to be and how you're going to make sure that your voice is heard, whether you're mailing in your ballot or whether you're going in person and going to appropriately 6 feet physical distance and cast your vote to make sure that your voice is heard. Please do that. And continue to pray for one another. Continue to uplift one another. Remember, everybody's walking around here with bubbles over their head. And inside of that bubble, there's something going on. And you really never know what that something is. But just know that if you show love, if you care for them, you could be the person that literally changes their day, because through you, they began to see the face of God. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in, and I look forward to seeing you right back here next week. Don't forget to click that like and share button. And as I would say if I was doing evening prayer right there on the ship, Chaps out. Good night.